Burns,
Yes.
Legislator Gilbert,
Here.
Legislator Chartrand,
Here.
Legislator Morahan,
Here.
Legislator Calzer has been excused, Legislator Osborne,
Here.
Legislator King,
Here.
and Legislator Dahlhoff.
Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The 5/4/2021 board meeting minutes have been distributed. If there are no amendments, they stand approved. Report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 6, Cassandra.
The Finance and Rules Committee has met and they recommend to waive rules to act upon late resolutions.
Need a motion by Dick, second by Jerry. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Public hearings. We have several public hearings tonight. The first one is a Normander unsafe structure hearing. There's an update to that. The structure has been demolished and the site's been cleaned up. Next one is introductory law number 1-2021, local law authorizing 12 and 13-year-old licensed hunters to hunt deer with a firearm or crossbow during hunting season with supervision of a licensed adult pursuant to Environmental Conservation Law 11-0935. Next on the list, CARES Act funding for broadband infrastructure needs under a New York State cdbg-cb application for 2020 funds. Following a cdbg Lewis County Home Ownership Program project number 636H03-19. And lastly, a cdbg Lewis County Housing Rehab Program project 636HR33318. So, we'll take them from the top. Is there anyone here that would like to comment on the Normander unsafe structure hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I can tell the board that I've received documentation from our code enforcement officer. The property is cleaned up and it's no longer in violation.
Thank you. Anyone else? Moving on to the local law number 1-2021, authorizing 12 and 13-year-old licensed hunters to hunt deer. Anyone here would like to make a comment on that? Moving on, CARES Act funding for broadband infrastructure needs under a New York State cdbg-cb application. Anyone care to comment on that? Not doing well. cdbg Lewis County Home Ownership Program, project 636H0318-19. Any comments on that? Finally.
Jalen needs to know about housing. So in April of 2019, Lewis County applied for $489,510 in funding through the cdbg program for Lewis County Direct Homeownership Assistance. The first public hearing was held April 2nd, 2019 in preparation for the application, and the second public hearing is being held today to provide the residents with the opportunity to offer any comments on the accomplishments of the grant. cdbg does require 2 public hearings. The goal of the program was to assist low and moderate income households to purchase their first home by providing buy down on the mortgage, payment of most of the closing costs, and assistance to rehab the housing unit to ensure that it meets the housing quality standards as developed by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This application was successful and the county was awarded $489,510. The grant stipulated that all funds must be expended in 24 months with an end date of June 28, 2021. The application anticipated 12 households would be assisted with an estimated program funds of $300,000 for mortgage buydown and closing costs and $120,000 for rehabilitation of purchased homes. An additional $69,510 was used for administrative and program delivery assistance, bringing the total to $489,510. The program is now nearing completion with a total of 12 homes that have been or will be provided assistance. The exact total anticipated in the application. The average down payment and closing cost assistance was $14,988. One of the households did not need any repairs. The average repair cost for the 8 homes that have been completed was $31,011, with ranges from $18,088 to $37,718. The average purchase price for the homes was $90,576, and the average mortgage after assistance was $72,993. There is no displacement as the homes were either vacant or in one case purchased by an existing tenant. The program is truly countywide in that 2 homes were located in the village of Croghan, 1 in the town of Glenfield, or village, sorry, 6 in Lowville, 2 in Lyon Falls, 1 in Port Lynham, and 1 in Turin. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Jalen. Anyone else have any comments? If not, we'll move on to CDBG Lewis County Housing Rehab Program, Project 636 HR 33318. Jalen, you're on a roll.
In November 2018, Lewis County applied for $718,200 in funding through CDBG for the Lewis County Housing Rehabilitation Program. The first public hearing was held on July 3rd in preparation for the application, and the second public hearing is being held today for the opportunity to offer any comments on the accomplishment of the grant. The purpose again of the program was to provide low and moderate income households with grant funds to improve the health, safety, and energy efficiency of their home, or to make accessible modifications as necessary to allow elderly homeowners to remain in their home as long as possible. All the projects must meet code as well as housing quality standards as developed by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This application was successful and the county was awarded the $718,200. A grant agreement was signed with a program effective date of January 24th, 2019, and the agreement stipulated that all funds must be expended within the 24 months, which was January 25th, 2021. The county did receive permission for 1 extension, so the new deadline is June 30th, 2021. The application anticipated that 20 substandard homes occupied by low and moderate income households located on scattered sites throughout the county would be assisted. 16 of the total applicants were projected to be single-family households with estimated program funds of $500,800, and 4 were projected to be multi-unit households with an estimated program fund of $105,200. The program is now nearing completion, and 20 households have been or will be provided assistance. The exact amount anticipated in the application. Of the 20 households assisted, 7 have reported a disability, 4 are occupied by senior citizens, and 2 households have female head of households. 1 household was modified to meet the accessibility needs of the resident. The average CDBG assistance provided to the 14 completed projects was $29,363, with a range of assistance from $15,650 to $45,011. 4 households also utilized $25,930 in additional funding provided by other grants awarded to Snowbelt Housing, bringing the project costs up to $631,930. Energy audits were completed by Lewis County Opportunities, and weatherization-related work was included in the scope of work by either Opportunities or the contractor. Lead-based risk assessments and clearances are completed for homes that are built prior to 1978 when lead-based paint was banned. The contractors are required to use lead-safe work practices and pass a clearance test to ensure that the home is free of lead hazards. If the rehabilitation cost exceeds $25,000, lead abatement is required. Radon tests are also completed on all assisted homes, and if radon levels are high, a radon mitigation system is installed. The rehabilitation work completed included all single-family housing units, 2 of which were rentals. There was no permanent displacement or relocation. The program was truly countywide in that 3 homes were located in Boonville, 2 in Constableville, 1 in Copenhagen, 1 in Krogan, 2 in Diana, 1 in Harrisville, 6 in Lowville, 4 in Port Leyden, and 1 in Turin. The majority of the contractors live in Lewis County as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Privilege of the floor. Is there anyone that would like to make any comments with anything in general? We will leave those public hearings open for another 20 minutes or so. And if no one has anything they'd like to bring up under privilege of the floor, we will move on to presentation of petitions, communications, and notices.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Legislator Hathaway, who couldn't be here tonight, would like to recognize Trooper Nicholas A. Agliano, who was born and raised in the town of Diana and recently honored as Troop B Trooper of the Year, Zone 2. His hard work and dedication to serving those in need is commendable. That is the end of my report.
Thank you. Reports of county officers and departments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Legislators received the May 2021 Treasurer's Report and Highway and Solid Waste May Audit Reports. Real Property Director Candy Aiken and County Treasurer Eric Berkler have filed approved applications for refunds or credit of real property taxes for property owners V.S. Berkler and Son and Jerry Majeko, as well as an approved application for 2020 corrected tax roll for property owner Valley Baptist Church of Osceola, which have been placed on file with the clerk of the board. Brian Mooney submitted the April and May 2021 Sealer of Weights and Measures activity reports, which have been placed on file with the clerk of the board. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Reports of standing committees. Tom, would you like to start with finance and rules, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make a motion to authorize Information and Technology Director Connor Belosi to put out an RFP for website update design with funding to come from the capital data processing account. I'll make that a motion.
Moved by Tom, second by Dick. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
I have a second motion to authorize Treasurer Eric Berkler to use funds from the capital buildings account to pay for the CNS concept phase of the renovation project not to exceed $114,460. I'll make that motion.
Moved by Tom, second by Lisa. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
And the only other thing I'd like to bring up is that our January 20th committee meetings are the same day as the opening day of the fair.
July 20th.
July, right. It's opening day, it's fair day, it's election year. I'd like to make a suggestion that maybe we could move those committee meetings to the day before on the 19th.
I don't know if we don't need a motion on that, just a consensus. Need a motion for that?
I would do a motion just to.
It's in the standing rules, so you should have a motion.
Okay. You can move that now?
I'll make a motion that we move to the
Second by
19th of
Andrea.
July.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Tom? Thank you, Tom. Gary, General Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have three motions to make. Motion to authorize Planning Director Cassandra Beal to refill one full-time Community Development Specialist position due to resignation effective immediately.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Motion to authorize Recreation, Forest, and Park Director Jackie Mahoney to put out an RFP for Singing Waters Bathhouse Project.
Moved by Jerry, second by Lisa. Discussion. Is that prevailing wage?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
A motion to authorize Buildings and Grounds Supervisor Matt O'Connor to refill one full-time cleaner's position due to resignation effective immediately.
Moved by Jerry, second by Dick. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries.
That's all I have right now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Anyone have questions for Jerry? Thank you, Jerry, and we'll move on to Andrea, Health and Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing new to report tonight.
Any questions for Andrea? We'll move on to Dick as the board's rep on the hospital board of managers.
The way the calendar fell and the holiday fell, I have nothing to report at this time.
Any questions for Dick? Thank you, Dick. County manager report, Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our vaccination effort continues to roll along. We have about 9,200 people in the county that are fully vaccinated at this point. We held clinics a couple weeks ago that were very successful. We went through every school and had in-school clinics and had over 120 children that were eligible get vaccinated. And we had a drive-through clinic at the fair that was very successful. We had about 150 people go through the drive-through clinic. So creative things, different approaches, different times, different places, different venues seems to be something that is catching people's attention. I would also note that our one of the videos that we had made, the Joe Bush video, has almost 40,000 views on social media. So that is a pretty impactful video considering there's only 26,000 people that live in the county. Our solid waste construction project, Jerry and I met up there with Kip and the folks from CNS and Barton and LaJudas last week, and that project is moving along. They're hoping to break ground in the next couple weeks and get moving on that. The renovation project, I was hoping maybe we'd have a full report from CNS today. They're telling me now that their deadline that they're hoping to have it to us by is June 8th. So if we have it by the 8th, we should have plenty of time to review and discuss it at the committee meetings on the 15th, which is what I'm hoping. This Friday, I will be going to Madison County all day for a conference with all the other county managers and administrators across the state. I find this time very valuable with the other county administrators and managers. A few things on the agendas for everybody is the American Recovery Act. We're going to get a presentation from Senator Schumer's office on how to properly go about utilizing those funds, which from what it sounds, we're kind of ahead of many counties in terms of our plan, but some counties have already tapped into the federal website to get their funds. So ahead of our, in terms of planning, maybe a little behind in terms of actually getting the funds, but hopefully we'll, Eric and I will figure that out and we'll get the funds in our bank account at least the first half here in the next month or so. So that would be great. Another thing on the agenda is our Medicaid payments. So we've talked about this often, but we pay weekly Medicaid payments to the state of New York. It's called our weekly share. And this goes back to the Keep the Cap and the big initiative that we were fighting for a couple years ago. And it's our share of Medicaid in the county. And the state had taken some of the American Recovery Act and CARES Act funds. They were specifically for entities that administer Medicaid. And the point was to funnel that money into those entities so that they can use it to help with the Medicaid burden during a pandemic. And so our Medicaid weekly shares went down by quite a bit, unexpectedly towards the end of 2020 going into 2021. Now, Eric and I and Jenny and Larry Knopfscher really have been very suspicious of the state, so we didn't really plan on those payments staying low forever, so we budgeted a little bit higher. But unexpectedly, about 2 weeks ago, the state sent every county in the state a letter saying that their weekly shares were going up, and ours went up $11,000 a month. So, or excuse me, a week, $11,000 a week. So we're fine budget-wise, but NISAC is scrambling and trying to figure out, what is the justification for the state changing this amount? And so far, the state has not given any legitimate reasons for why they're changing, other than, well, their reimbursement formula has changed. Well, that's not a sufficient answer. So we're going to talk about that with the other county managers and see if NISAC has any better answers. But what's likely happening is that the state is using the FMAP funds. We've talked about these before. But they're probably using it towards their share of Medicaid and not properly allocating it out and distributing the benefit out to the rest of the county. So we'll see what's going on with that. The last day of the state legislature is next Thursday, the 10th. So we will also do an end of session wrap up with NISAC on Friday. But I think that's always good news when the state legislature goes home for the rest of the summer. We can all relax a little bit. Last but not least, this is Community Cup Week. So this is our third annual Community Cup in Lewis County. We started it in 2018. We had Community Cup in 18, 19, and then 20. Unfortunately, we had to cancel it, but we're back in 2021. And we have events all week long, including kickball Friday and trivia night Friday at Veterans Park. So everyone is welcome to join the courthouse team. We did get last place in 2018, but or 2019, but I'm hoping that we can recover and do a little better this year.
Lisa's on the team, we'll do a lot better this year.
Yeah, Lisa shot free throws today, I shot free throws. Our volleyball team's playing right now, and we got Ian signed up for trivia, so we should be in good shape there.
But at this point, we're ahead in free throws, right?
We are probably not ahead.
It's still at volleyball, is that where it's
Yeah, Phil's playing, Phil and Greg are playing volleyball. So that's my report, thank you.
Any questions for Ryan?
Ryan, what's
Dick?
the process for the applying for the funds? You said you have to actually go through the Treasury Department. Do the towns and villages, do they?
Yeah, I watched a brief NISAC video today. You have to have a DUNS number, D-U-N-S. So there is a small registration that you have to do online. It's not complicated at all. And then basically you get access to your funds, and then you can draw down from the funds. The question is, how do you go about doing that? It actually hasn't been very clear. So they had a whole system set up for the CARES Act, and then they did the American Recovery Act, and they haven't really, they've kind of just said, well, just do the same thing you did for the CARES Act. Okay, well, guess what? The town of Bremen didn't get any CARES Act funding, neither did Lewis County. So this is our first time tapping into these funds. So we're kind of learning it for the first time, and it is slightly different from the CARES Act funds. So I'm pretty confident that it's fairly simple, but I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about it.
If you find anything, just email, whatever you
Yes.
want.
In fact, you know what? Why don't we send that NISAC webinar around to everybody? The one they did last week. That would be a good idea.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
Dick?
Yeah, Brian, what's our vaccine percentage now?
It's a good question. If you look at first doses, I think, Andrea, what's on that sheet that I gave you there for first doses?
Well, everybody didn't get it.
No, I gave you just
I thought everybody got it.
1,480.
right there on the front.
Right
At the,
now.
at the top. I think it's-
How many
what?
people got the first dose? 10,380.
10,380. So if you look at people over the age of 18, we are around 20,000. So there's 6,000 that are less than 18, so a little, around 50%, I would say. But, I mean, we're definitely lagging behind the state and the country, but.
Are people missing their second doses, do you think?
No, we have not had, according to Ashley, we have not had any issues with the second doses. So that's a good thing.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
Anything else for Ryan? Now we'll move on to Eric with the county treasurer report.
Thank you, and just one other follow-up on the American Recovery Act funding. I've not yet initiated that process, but I will plan to do that soon. And if once I go through it and have some knowledge, if any other towns and villages want to refer to us, we'll do the best we can to help them. I do understand from some other counties the turnaround of receiving the 50% from the federal government has been relatively short. So they're getting their money in their pockets quickly, which we'll make sure we get on that train also. I did provide you a written report, just a couple of notes I will highlight there, and this really just a quick summary of some balances for you through the month of June. Our sales tax collected is at $4,293,000 for the first 4 months of the year. We're really well ahead of schedule on that. We're 17% over where we were last year. So definitely some good signs in our sales tax collections this year. And on the bottom of the page, you see some of our fund balance summary balances. The one I would bring to your attention is the health insurance cash balance at $6,205,000. That is down from the beginning of January, which is planned. And we will really focus on continuing to ensure that fund balance is at a level that makes sense for our plan. So I think you do have action tonight to look at another holiday for our health plan, and that will, another action again, that will continue to maintain the fund balance to the level we think makes sense. That's all I have.
Any questions for Eric? If not, we'll move on to report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee reports that they have examined the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $1,016,782.86 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
Need a motion? Ron, second by Andrea. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries. So, we need 1 minute, 2 minutes, or are we good on public hearing?
I think we need approximately 2 minutes, but if you, we can make the motion to move the slate because the only one that we need to close the public hearing on is the local law, which requires a roll call vote anyway. Was there any other resolutions that needed to be pulled out of the slate other than number 119 and 120? Did anybody have any other ones?
I talked with Ryan today. I'd like to see if there's any discussion on 126.
126?
That's the UTV one.
136 Tuesday.
And
126, 136 also.
So let me just see what's that one, Ryan?
The change order.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna pull 119, 120, 126, and 136. Everyone comfortable with the rest of the slate? Need a motion to move the slate. Lisa, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries.
I think you can go ahead and close the public.
Okay, would anyone like to, any comments on any of the public hearings? All set? At this point, I will close the public hearings for the multiple issues that we had here. Okay, so,
Okay, we have resolution number 119-2021, auditing and allowing claims.
a motion, Lisa, second by Jerry. Any discussion? And it's a roll call.
Legislator King.
Aye.
Legislator Colzer's been excused. Legislator Chartrand.
Yes.
Legislator Burns.
Yes.
Legislator Hathaway's been excused. Legislator Verkler.
Yes.
Legislator Gilbert.
Yes.
Legislator Moorhan.
Yes.
Legislator Osborne.
Yes.
And Legislator Dahlhoff.
Yes.
The next one is resolution number 120-2021, resolution adopting and otherwise treating local law number 2-2021, County of Lewis.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Any discussion?
Yeah, I asked for this one so we get over the discussion. I found it interesting that the state DEC made the law. And then they said, we're gonna give it down to each of the counties to decide whether they wanna opt in or out of it. So I kinda thought, must've been a moneymaker for the state. So as a 30-year hunter safety instructor, I did a little checking. And they're not gonna make much money on it. The reason they wanted to go along with this was the fact that we were one of about 3 other states in the whole United States that doesn't allow the 12 to 13-year-olds hunt. So when they said the counties, there's no county lines in the woods. So these hunters are gonna be out there, but they aren't gonna know which county they're in. So, to me, it would have made more sense for the state to just go ahead and make the law and be done with it, and that covered all the counties. Because I thought maybe if it was a moneymaker, I'd transition it over to the next one I wanna talk about, which is the ATV law, which does have some serious money for the states in it. We had a meeting with Jackie a week or so ago. There was a private company, I forget the name, but they had done some initial economics of how much the state could make out of allowing the UTVs to be licensed and registered. And it was in the millions of dollars. And now I understand from Ryan, and I think it's a great deal, we're gonna go ahead and pursue our own economic study and adjustment for that. So, our hands were really tied as far as I'm concerned on the 12 to 13-year-olds. It has pluses and minuses, and I will fully support that, but I just thought it was strange the way the state went through it.
I would add to that the county opt-in was not DEC's choice. They were pushed into that because there were a couple large downstate counties that were not comfortable with this. So this to them was better than nothing.
They're the same ones that are gonna oppose our ATV law. I thank you for adding that.
So, any other comments? All in favor?
This is a roll call.
Roll call, sorry.
Legislator Chartrand.
Yes.
Legislator Gilbert.
Yes.
Legislator Moorhan.
Yes.
Legislator Burns.
Yes.
Legislator Colzer's been excused. Legislator Verkler.
Yes.
Legislator Osborne.
Yes.
Legislator Hathaway's been excused. Legislator King.
Yes.
And Legislator Dahlhoff.
Yes.
The next one is resolution number 126-2021, resolution in support of proposed bills S2708 and A1203, amending laws to create an ATV trail fund, use of ATVs, and increase weight limit to 1,800 pounds.
Moved by Lisa? Second? Ian? Discussion?
Okay, this one I already asked or explained why I wanted it, but I'd like to reiterate. This does have some serious money for the state as well as for the counties and what have you. And based on the same rationale for the hunters, the 12 and 13-year-olds, we are also only one of 2 or 3 states in the United States that doesn't allow the UTVs to be registered. They're safe for older people, they're safe for disabled people, they're safe for people with children, they've got seat belts in them, roll bars in them, and the whole 9 yards. So to me, it's a win-win. It's a moneymaker for the state and the counties, and it's a safety issue for the people that do it. And I wanted to try to get some of that in there. I guess we're gonna do it at a later date once we get our economic data, so, thank you.
Weren't we told that this is stalled?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that we weigh in on these issues when they come up, but from what I'm hearing, there seems like little hope that this is going to pass. Larry and I did have an interesting conversation with Jackie, with a firm in Albany that is more basically a lobbying firm, and it's a guy I went to school with that works there now, and we asked him to look into it a little bit for us, and it might be worth, he's going to come back. We asked him to come back with a game plan, and if it's something that they might be able to help us push through, where, the problem with this law is he was ticking off all the committees that it had to go through in order to pass. It had to go through Environmental Conservation Committee, it had to go through Transportation Committee, it had to go through Recreation Committee, it had to go through. So you start racking these things up, and it only takes, one Senate member out of any of these committees to stop the whole thing. So he was thinking that maybe a more targeted approach and trying to get the system built one thing at a time might be a little bit better. But if they can come up with a game plan that we could buy into, maybe it's something that would be worth entering into a contract with them, having them arrange some meetings for us down in Albany where we can, try to be a little more forceful on this issue. Dick had said we're one of a few states that don't allow UTVs. I believe, from what Larry and I have heard, we're the only state that doesn't allow UTVs. It's not that we don't allow them, we don't even recognize that they exist. It's like the law just refuses to acknowledge the reality of rural places in upstate New York. So this is an issue that many of you have been doing advocacy on for a long time, and maybe it's time we bring in a professional to help us make the right connections down in Albany.
That's all I have.
Sounds like a good role for NISAC to get involved into.
Yeah, when we were in Albany for the Medicaid issue a couple years ago, we had some downtime, and Larry and I really cornered Patrick, their attorney, with Joan, and he was frantically scribbling. But I wouldn't say it's super on their radar. But we need to push a little harder too.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
The last one is resolution number 136-2021, resolution authorizing amendment to change order number 1 to agreement between the County of Lewis and CNS Technical Resources, Inc. for general contracting services under the Wobble Solid Waste Transfer Station Upgrade Project.
Moved by Jerry, second by Andrea. Discussion.
This is the one where the cost went up considerably, and I understand the costs are going up for everybody, and this is probably the ethical and right thing to do in this. But I think we need to, going forward with the contracts that we put out, also guard against ourselves a little bit as to what, this is a very unique, once in a probably lifetime situation, and I would go ahead and support this one. But in the future, we may want to ask for a list of the subcontractors, and then normally the contracts I've worked on, they would submit the subcontractor's quote with a date stamp of when they received it, and then the increased quote with a date stamp of when they received that, and was it from the same contractor? And that gives you a little bit better accounting process to the whole thing. So I would just offer those as going forward things that we might want to do.
When did this bid go out?
The bid went out in February, I believe, and we have all bid amounts held for 60 days. We did not execute the contract within 60 days of the bid. So these guys came back and said, hey, our vendors aren't holding our prices. We can't hold your price. What we need to do, in addition to what Dick said, is have a provision when we send them the letter awarding them the bid. So you guys act and award the bid. Then there's a contract this thick for these jobs that goes back and forth and back and forth, and it doesn't get finally signed sometimes, for a couple months.
Oh, yeah.
So what we need to do is when we send the notice of award, there needs to be language in there that says, in lieu of a contract or as we wait for a contract, this shall serve as legal notice for you to proceed with purchasing, things that need to be purchased. So something like that can get the ball rolling. So.
But Ryan, this is the first time that the person or the company was awarded the bid. They never started procuring the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when we do it, this was the first time, well, they don't do it that way. And so you think it's ordered, so it's not. And, then, and I'm not making excuses, but, like Dick, I think we need to do the right thing, and I think there was enough justification in there after we saw this stuff that this is the right thing. But I assume our contract's signed and everything else, and,
Yes.
there shouldn't be any escalation cost unless something's changed, so concrete or whatever's left out there yet, they should have that locked in quite a while back.
Yeah, you're right, Jerry. Most of the time, people take the notice of award as enough to get them moving. CNS wouldn't order anything until they had a signed contract. So, here we are.
And you can't fault them for that either.
Yeah.
Just different way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
So when's the expectation that, my concern is commodities are starting to drop, particularly iron ore is back under $200 a ton. So this is all steel. When they first requested this change order, they were worried about the cost of blacktop. And now it's switched to steel. Just not real comfortable with it, I guess. Anyhow, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Show me opposed. Motion carries. And that is the end of the resolutions, I think. Other business, Lewis County stimulus initiatives. Ryan?
So we handed out at the committee meeting earlier, I guess it was last month, a document that outlines all the different projects that we're hoping to move forward with the stimulus funds. We distributed, but we didn't discuss it. And I just wanted to make sure, since we're all together, that everyone's still on the same page here, that once we get those funds activated, we'll start moving forward with these initiatives. And so I just wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page.
Comments, questions?
We're going to get some more information on some of them.
Did you get this? No, it was handed out at the committee meeting last month. So, but I'm happy to go into more detail on anything else that's in the report. Yep. I mean, it's still pretty bare bones because we don't know. We got to figure out what we can actually, how we can actually spend the money. But for the most part, this is where we'd like to put it. So for example, the workforce one, I talked about extending the Careers Here program. We talked about that. After talking to Jenny, we got to talk about, internal ability to process more applications. I mean, there's some things that once we get into them, we're going to have more in-depth discussions, but conceptually, if everybody's okay, we'll kind of keep moving forward.
Everyone good?
Do you have that electronically?
Sure. Why don't you email it to everybody?
Okay, is there any other business?
An executive session, or is that just?
We do need an executive session if someone would like to make that motion.
Yes, just so I can explain this, Mr. Chairman, that I'm requesting an executive session to go over a particular person in a personnel matter, property negotiations, county property negotiations, and a property litigation matter for the county.
I think that's it.
Moved by Dick, second by Ron. Any discussion? All in favor? We will take a 5-minute break before we go in.
That's what I need.
What's that?
Yeah, I was gonna ask for a break. Thank
You
you.
gotta stop for a quick.